name is Phyffer and I'm the founder of Oorsee. Now, for those of you that know my YouTube videos, you would know that most of our stuff are interviews with people all over the world, South Africans making a difference, South Africans just living their lives. They tell us their stories on how difficult it was to move abroad, what was the most difficult things to get used to, and what are the joys and the pleasures they really like and love in their new country. Now, we've also just launched the Oorsee Cookbook, and as promised, I said that as we're making some of these recipes, we'll do our best to record them, get them onto our channel so that you guys can follow in some way or the other on how it gets done. Now, I'm going to apologize for in advance because I am not a professional cook making video editing guru. I am yes, I interview people on YouTube, but yeah, this is a big first for me, and I do hope you find it entertaining, and it's going to be an honest review, and it's going to be an honest attempt to show you how I am going to make Oxtail Potjie. That's the cook for today. It's Melbourne, it's windy, it is a beautiful day, it is sunny, it's not cold at all, as usual for this time of year, so I'm quite excited in getting this cook done. Now, for first things first, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you what I've bought. Okay, so what I have here is, now I know this is still in the packaging, I'm going to unwrap all of this in a bit and give you a better view, but for now I just want to go over at what this actually cost me to get done. So the broccoli is actually a substitution for leeks, which I didn't feel like cooking, so I do like a bit of broccoli in a stew, so I'm adding that. Carrots obviously is part of the recipe, stock is part of the recipe, onions, potatoes. Now for the potatoes, I'm not going to put that into the stew, into the potjie itself. I'm going to be, so yes, the potatoes are not for the potjie. I normally put potato in the potjie, but I'm hoping to freeze whatever's left over up in the freezer for later this week. And as you know, potatoes don't really freeze well. So I'm going to be using that for mashed potato. And then obviously the guest of honor is the oxtail. I'm just going to put that over there. There's not much flies around because of the wind, but yeah. Olive oil to get the searing, to help me with the searing. Some butter, which is part of the recipe. I didn't go for tomato paste. I went for crushed tomatoes because yeah, I do like a bit of chunkiness in there, and obviously bacon, which is a big part of the potjie on the oxtail potjie recipe, and then some garlic, which I'm going to be crushing down for some additional flavor. Then obviously probably like the second most important ingredient of the dish is the red wine. So a few things that are not on this table, that's part of the recipe, would be a few things that I like that adds additional flavor, because we all know in Potjiekos flavor is everything. Is Worcestershire sauce, and a bit of allspice, which because I'm in Australia, you don't really always get the ones that you like. So I've got a few favorites that I learned to love over the years. So I'm going to be putting some of that in there and really get that beefiness and that flavor to pop in this potjie. Now, for those of you potjie connoisseurs out there, don't judge me. Look, we all know the history of potjie. We know it was started by the Boers to make a meal big enough so that people could share, because obviously they were on the road, they were traveling, supplies were limited and all of that. So I'm not following any traditional recipes in detail. I'm mix and matching here and there just to make it my own, and for the most part it's going to be a great oxtail potjie. Right, I'm going to get that fire started. My oxtail is searing, so let's see how that's going at the moment. There we go. Those flames are a little bit high for my liking, but what I'll do is I'll give it a good stir, and then yeah, I'll break the flames apart on the side a bit, so that can just calm down a little bit. But yeah, as soon as the stock goes in, that will start boiling up nicely. So doesn't bother me that much. So yeah, the proof will be in the end result. Right. So just to give you a bit of a sneak peek, that's what we got here. It's looking really great, searing well. Now, for those of you that are potjie connoisseurs, or potjie experts for that matter, you would probably leave it in there and get all your other ingredients in. Me on the other hand, I'm going to take mine out. So I'm going to pick out all the oxtail, put it back in the bowl, and then I'm going to start frying my onions. And then some of my garlic, not all of it, half of it. And that will start layering that flavor that I want the meat to be engulfed into. Now call me crazy, that's the way I like to do it. So yeah, stay tuned. Funny story about this oxtail that I need to tell you. So I went to the butcher and I said, well, can I please have 500 grams worth of oxtail? And they're like, oh, they think they have fresh oxtail, they're all frozen, right? So they come out of the freezer with this massive meter long tail. So they're like, well, 500 grams. I'm like, no, you know what? Because that was 1.2 kilograms. I'm like, give it all. Give me everything. I've got this this theory that if something is frozen, it weighs a little bit more than it does unfrozen. I could be wrong. Right, so I'm just going to show you what I've done. I now have my onions in with my oxtail. And I've added half of my beef stock, just so it doesn't all burn away. The heat now I feel is perfect. The art now is to keep it that way for the next 4 to 5 hours, so it doesn't overcook part of the potjie, because that's when you get those little burnt bits in the bottom, which normally most of you don't mind. I remember growing up, and as my dad was making this, I'm from the Namakoland, and we ate potjie at least once a week. I didn't like those bits, but yeah, that's just me. Anyway, so now, very important, let me just fix my camera here. I'm going to start adding flavor, more flavor, because the stock has some flavor. The beef obviously have its own flavor, but now I want to start adding a mixture of salt, black peppercorns, my allspice, and my Worcestershire sauce. The trick here is not to overdo it, especially on the salt. The salt, there's already loads of salt in Worcestershire sauce, we know this. So before I start pouring that into the pot, I'm going to make it all into one bowl. I'm going to make sure I taste it, make sure it's good. Add my bacon, because bacon's also going to be a bit of salty. Remember this, when you do make your potjie, there are loads of salt in the ingredients you're going to be using already. Anyway, once I've got the bacon in there, I'll make sure my mixture is okay, and that'll go into the pot. Like I said, it doesn't matter which recipe I follow, I always mix it up a bit to make sure it works for me, because sometimes things goes different. Your pot will get too hot, so you're gonna do things like your onions and garlic a little bit later, and those sorts of things. Right, so I'm almost ready to get the bacon and the spice in there. And then once that's in there, I'm going to let it simmer for about an hour, and then I'm going to start working the veg in there. Now the good thing about this pot, there's no potato. Potato, as every one of you know, has a way of ruining a potjie. Potato is great in a potjie. You can almost not go without potato in a potjie. But the mistake loads of people are making, me, is I would start stirring. And that's where the problem comes, because in your mind, your potato is not cooking soft enough. Right, let me turn around a bit so you can get some of the poo in there, and look at that. It looks warm. It ain't. I'm not jumping in there. Anyway, so yeah. So what I'll be doing is I'm still going to be sticking to my mashed potato with my potjie on the side. As for all the rest of the veg, that'll go straight into the potjie, and I've got a little bit of a mix that I'm going to put in there anyway, because I love getting additional veg into my children, because they think they can avoid it without losing their teeth. Nah. So I'm going to be working some more veg than what the recipe says in there. I try and avoid things like too much carrot and mealies. Now mealies I know is a big yes for potjie. I try not to mix it in too much in there because it has a way of overwhelming the taste. For this specific recipe, I want to really taste the beefiness of that oxtail, and I really am hoping that this bottle of red wine is going to complement what I'm trying to do in that pot over there. Right, I just added some additional water to my potjie. I didn't want to add the rest of the stock because I'm waiting for my vegetables. Once I put my vegetables in, I want to pour the stock over that, so a lot of that flavor would already submerge itself into the vegetable, and it will preserve that beefiness. I do love vegetables, but the moment you start putting a lot of vegetables into a potjie, it starts overwhelming it. Now I doubt that any vegetable will have the power to overwhelm the 1.2 kilograms or 1.3 kilograms of oxtail that I've got in this pot, but I'm not going to take any chances anyway. So that's what I'll be doing. I'm going to be adding a mixed veg as well, which also contains a little bit of broccoli, some green beans, some carrot, and those, and that's already chopped up quite thin, just so my kids can get some vegetables in them. One thing in this recipe I will not be adding to this potjie is mushrooms. I love mushrooms, but I'm not an idiot. If I want my kids to eat my food, I will avoid putting it in there. So for now, no mushrooms, but loads of veg. But I've got more than enough oxtail to compensate for that, and I've got some stock to make sure the beefiness preserves, and I've got loads of flavor that's going in there right now. Right, so I'm going to start chopping up some carrots and broccoli on this chopping board of mine and getting that onto the pot, because it's been about an hour for the meat and the onions and the garlic that's simmered, and all those flavors are just sort of embedded everywhere now. So before I close it up, I just want to show you guys what I've got here. So the oxtail and bacon and all the flavors down the bottom. Got my carrot and broccoli on top. I'm going to let that simmer for a bit before I do my spices. So as I said, I'm going to be working in some more frozen veg into my potjie. It's just the basics, nothing major. Just some green beans, some more broccoli, some bloemkool, and some carrot. The reason for that is I want to get the necessary veg into my children, because they are picky eaters at most. My son's fine, but my two daughters, they, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, that's what it's looking like now. That bit there is frozen. That'll break up soon. So we've got loads of veg on top. Got all my meat and all my juices at the bottom. I'm gonna start working my tomato paste and my spices in on top, and getting the last of the stock in there, and that's gonna simmer away beautifully until that meat really pulls away from the bone, because we know veg don't need much to cook, but that meat needs to really be soft and juicy. Right, I will update you shortly. Right, we're about 4 hours into this cook, so let's see where we're at. So first thing I'm going to do, take the lid off. Forgive me if I sound condescending. I'm explaining this as I would to a toddler, which is me, because I'm not a potjie pro, but I've got a good feeling about this one. Ooh. So what I'm doing is I'm just putting in the spoon on the side and just loosening it up. I'm not stirring, don't worry, I won't stir the pot. Making sure the carrots are being cooked to perfection, and the broccoli would be part of the main flavor. Kijk, ek wil nou nie brag nie, maar